right in the middle. Great show for you guys today. We got a ton of stuff to talk about. Big news in the world of NASCAR. Of course, it is also the official holiday for Keith as we are smack dab in the Indiana Sprint Week. And we have some World of Outlaw news, bunch of stuff to cover. So strap yourselves in because it's going to be a good one. But before we dive into any of that stuff, Keith, how was your weekend, my man?
It was pretty good. Pretty good.
Nice. Anything planned for this weekend?
Not at the moment. Just watch some racing.
Nice. Yeah, I am leaving tomorrow. We are going up to our cabin. I can't freaking wait. Dude, I can't wait. It's gonna be so quiet, so nice. I'm really looking forward to it. So it's up in like the middle of nowhere, and there's no cell service, no internet service, there's no electricity. There's not even plumbing. Like we have an outhouse, like it's
Awesome.
yeah, it's legit like old school cabin. I'm here in Northern California. We're about it's like 6,000 feet elevation, like it's way up in the mountains. And it's this old like hunting community. It's like the old what they called the Feather River Rod and Reel Club or something like that. And it's like this old hunting community. So there's like a bunch of cabins where we're at, around us. But we've got the river literally like 50 feet away. And it's just, surrounded by trees. Like it's just so nice, man. And it's nice and cool up there, at least at night. The day it can still get warm, but at night it cools off. And I got to tell you, if you live in a city, right, and you've never been like out camping or been to the mountains or like the desert at nighttime, you are missing out. Like if you have not looked at the sky, like if you haven't looked at the stars where there's no light pollution, a lot of people don't even realize how many stars are up there. Like you have
Oh,
no
I know.
idea how much you're missing when you're like in a city or a town, like, and then you go out and it's like, oh my God, what are we closer or something? It's like, no, there's just no light pollution. It's just so dark that you can actually see the sky now. It's
And
incredible.
and that's why I like living in the country where I'm at, because I
Yeah.
can walk outside on my back porch
Mm-hmm.
and just look at the sky with no other light pollution, like you're saying,
Yeah.
and it's freaking awesome.
Yeah, it is, man. I love it. So
Showing
yeah.
my age now.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. Me and my wife and my kids are gonna go up tomorrow night. So yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. But
Oh, absolutely. Get a break away from normal life and
yeah, exactly. Which I need. Which I need. I plan on doing a lot of nothing and a lot of sleeping, so it should be fun.
oh, I don't blame you
Yeah.
there.
But before I head out on that trip, we definitely got some stuff to cover. Huge news, huge news in the world of NASCAR, with the whole, DQ of Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch. We will definitely dive into that and here in just a few minutes. But before we get into that, want to cover briefly some stuff here below the fold as a new segment here where we talk about some of the news topics of the day that might not be the headline stuff. Now, for me and Keith, it's a pretty big deal just because, we're huge non-wing sprint car fans. But anything in particular catching your eye during sprint week right now, Keith?
CJ Leary can't throw a drop kick.
Yeah. No, he cannot. He definitely
No.
can't time it. He needs to get better at timing it. Doing
Well,
it
now
while
that and I
doing it
think
while the guy's still in the car is probably not the best idea.
Robert kind of blocked him with his forearm, which was
Yeah.
pretty good. But no, um, Indiana Sprint Week's going on. I think that's one of the biggest news for that side of it. And
Yep.
I think it ought to be a national holiday, but that's just me.
Yep. Now, unfortunately, um, they've already had a couple of them rained out. Lawrenceburg got rained out. uh, what was the other one? Was it Terre Haute? Did Terre Haute get rained out last night?
Terre Haute rained out last
Yeah,
night,
rained
and
out last night.
we got
So
a bunch of rain.
yeah. So they've got Lincoln tonight, and then they've got Bloomington, and then Tri-State. And is that it? They're not making up the rainouts, correct? Am I correct on that?
So the only rain out that they rescheduled, to my knowledge, was Kokomo, because it was supposed to be the week before or the day before Gas City, or the day after Gas City, I'm sorry. So they made that up. As far as the other 2 go, they're not gonna make them up. I think they should, since it's gonna be a month that they race again,
Yeah.
but that's probably why I don't run USAC. I
Yeah.
mean,
Now is that when they come back in August, is that SmackDown? Is that what that
that is
is?
SmackDown.
That is SmackDown. Yeah. So, uh I like the fact that, you got some build up with the break. I don't like the fact that the break is almost a month. That's
Yeah,
insane.
and whoever made the schedule, come on, man, do a better job.
Yeah.
I'm
So,
all for having breaks, but damn,
yeah,
uh,
three
but
almost 4 weeks is crazy.
I know a bunch of the USAC guys run with the Outlaws wingless stuff, so
Mhm.
it'll give them time to go run that stuff too,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah, which we
good
do
use
have
of
some stuff.
oil and
Yeah. We do have some of that coming up. So yeah, if you guys haven't been watching Sprint Week, you definitely want to check it out. It's a lot of fun.
absolutely. The
Yeah,
points
it's
battle too's tightening up for
yes
the
it is.
championship,
Yes,
so
it is. You've got literally the top, what is it? 6 guys are within 200 points of each other, which for those of you guys that don't know that in USAC, right, like their points is not like the Outlaws. Like they have a different point system, and that's not that huge, right? Like you can make up, Logan Seavey, for example, who's in 6th place. He pops off a couple of wins, and those guys ahead of him have some rough nights. Like he could very easily find himself up in the mix. So I I love it. I love the fact that Baloo is back up there battling for the championship. You know, and
eh,
obviously Brady Bacon, C.J. Leary, Justin Grant. I mean, those guys they're always competitive. I really love the fact, and I'm sure you do too, that Emerson Axum is 5th in points right now.
and
I
he's nipping at it.
Yeah, I think that's freaking awesome. Especially considering the fact that he's a rookie, So hopefully he can have a strong finish to the season. So yeah, a lot of fun stuff happening in the world of USAC. But we'll cap off sprint week next week after everything gets finished. But we gotta get into everything else that's going on, and we're gonna do that today with a little segment that we call hit or miss, which is basically do we agree or do we disagree? Does it hit the mark or does it miss the mark? And thankfully, NASCAR gave us no shortage of drama this last weekend, and we've got a bunch of stuff on the docket. Now, before we begin with the NASCAR stuff, there's a couple of things that I got to cover, that we got to cover regarding the world of Outlaws. Just because, if you guys remember last week, we had our buddy Jeremy on. We talked about the upcoming Summer Nationals that weekend at Williams Grove. Friday night, the day that the show aired, I hadn't even seen the race yet. And then I got a message from Jeremy like, hey, did you see the race? And sure enough, he looked like freaking Nostradamus, who had just predicted the top three. If you guys remember, he said Deweese, Marks, and Macri were the ones to watch, and those were the ones who swept the podium on night number 1. And it was sheer Pennsylvania posse domination. Um, it was absolutely incredible to see the local guys show out like that. But night number 2 was a different story. And that's going to bring us to our first hit or miss. So, Keith, Brad Sweet's win at the Summer Nationals showed us that he's still the man to beat for the championship. Does that hit or miss the mark?
Ooh, misses the mark.
All right. How so?
I think Brad Sweet, yeah, he's been super consistent. That's his second win of the year.
Yes, it is.
The guys behind him are really nipping at his heels. I think they're forcing him to be that consistent, but a couple more mistakes out of that 49 group, and them boys in second, third, and fourth in points are going to be right there. So I was gonna say it hits the mark because yeah, we want to see Brad Sweet win. I mean, that's we've raced with him,
Yeah.
but with everything the points battle being as tight, I think it's gonna miss the mark this time. Uh, he could prove me wrong and rip off some wins, which I think he needs to do to strengthen that points lead. But I think as of right now, it misses the mark. I mean, yeah, they've been super consistent, but they need to show a little more.
All right. I'm going to go the other way. I think it hits the mark. And the reason why is if you look at the year that they've had so far, by their standards, it's been fucking horrible, right? Like he even said in his post race interview, he's like, man, I wanted to quit a couple times this year. Like it's been a rough year for them. And they're still in the points league. Now, granted, they're Sweet's 54 points ahead of Gravel and only 84 ahead of Hodenshield. Macedo has dropped back some, especially after that wreck he had at Williams Grove. But to me, those three are kind of looking like the ones that are going to separate. And for Brad Sweet to go out and win at Williams Grove, a track he's never won at before, they had a really, really good weekend. And you look at all of the stuff that they've gone through so far this year, and it's been horrible. Their consistency has really only been the best thing about their season, which you need to win a championship. I think them popping off a win, I think it's going to open the door for them. I think that's going to help them get some of their confidence back. It's really hard, as you know, even when you're leading a points championship, right? When you're not getting those night in and night out results, it's hard, man. It beats you down. And I think them getting a win at Williams Grove is going to help. And I would not be surprised to see them pop off another 2 or 3 wins here in the next few weeks. So I think it hits the mark.
And I agree with both. I
Yeah,
agree
look,
with both
I
sides.
can you can make an argument for both. Absolutely. Because look, at the end of the day, what are we talking about? We're talking about, yes, this is a 3-time champion, but let's not forget the guys who are chasing him right now, Gravel and Hodenshield, have been phenomenal this season, right? Like they've been phenomenal. If Sheldon Hodenshield could eliminate just a couple of those really horrible finishes that he's had, right? Whether it's, he gets into
Yeah,
the wall or blows a tire or something like that. You
and he's
take
right there.
you take 2 or 3 of those out and he's, tied in points or leading the points, right? Because he's got 8 wins on the year. Like he's been really good. So, and Gravel too. Even Gravel, he had a streak there for a while where it was like, dude, is this guy going to get back into victory lane? Like, what's going on? So, you know, I think those 3 guys, any one of them is going to could win the championship this season, and
Well,
it's not going to
and
be a shock.
and it's like I've been saying, don't let Sheldon get hot.
No,
I mean, that'll be the biggest mistake that they allow.
Yep.
And let's face it, it'll be hard to stop that from happening because it
Mm-hmm.
could happen to any one of these guys. But I feel like Sheldon's got the better team around him of the 3 other than Brad Sweet. Brad Sweet's got a damn good team around him, but I think Brad Sweet and Sheldon's got 2 of the best teams in the business right now.
Yes. Yep.
And if Sheldon gets hot, I think we're gonna see a new champion.
I would agree with that. I think if I were to look at Sheldon Hodenshield and Brad Sweet, like if I had to compare them, right? And I had to do like a scouting combine, like we're gonna do a breakdown of NFL quarterback prospects coming out of college, right? Like here, he's got this arm and this, like if I had to do that with those 2 drivers, the way that I would look at them is Brad Sweet is look in terms of his ceiling. I mean, obviously we know that he can be a champion, right? His ceiling is definitely high. And I think Sheldon Haudenschild's ceiling is actually higher. Like when he's on and that team is on, they're damn near unbeatable. The problem is that Brad Sweet's floor is much higher than Sheldon Haudenschild's, right? Like Sheldon
Absolutely.
Haudenschild still has that win it or wreck it type of stuff going on where it's like, yeah, you didn't win tonight. You got 22nd. Where even when Sweet's having a horrible night, it's like he still got 8th, So I think that's kind of the big separator. And like, I was saying a minute ago, if Haudenschild, like you talk about, if he gets hot and then he can have, those races where he gets 23rd or a DNF or something like that, if he can, just cut that in half, get it to where he's finishing in the top 15 on those horrible nights, he's definitely going to be challenging for the title. So yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun, man. We've been talking about it all year, and we'll continue to talk about it because it's been exciting all year. It's been tight all season long, and I don't foresee it getting bad. I don't foresee that changing. I think it's going to be a tight points battle all the way through
Yeah,
the final race of
and
the
and I
season.
think I think it's gonna come down to the World Finals at the
Yep.
end. I
So
really
do
do.
I. So do I. So it should be a lot of fun, man. All right. Our next one. Moving over to the NASCAR side of things. So with about, what was it, 18, 19 laps to go on the restart, Denny Hamlin goes into turn 1. Chastain's on his outside. Hamlin runs up the track, and Chastain ends up in the wall. There was a slight touch between the two. Hamlin obviously drives off. Chastain wrecks. All right. And there's been an argument on both sides of the fence where people have said that was retaliation, and other people have said, no, that was just hard racing, and Hamlin didn't give him a window because it was Chastain. Dale Earnhardt Jr. had one of the best quotes I've ever heard, and he said that Denny Hamlin's move with Ross Chastain at the end of the race was retaliation with a scalpel, not a hammer. So, Keith, does Junior's quote hit or miss the mark?
I think it's gonna hit the mark, but I don't think it's over with.
I agree 1,000%.
I do not
I
think it's
think it
over
is far from over with. Yeah.
because let's face it, Ross straight up wrecked Denny not once but twice.
Yes.
Like straight up ran him over. Now, hindsight, Denny goes to pass Ross. Did he leave him any room? He didn't. Ross still had room,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a key factor in this reason why I don't think it's over. Kevin Harvick was involved. And then we seen the 11 and the 18 get disqualified. Kevin Harvick finishes third. He wins the race. He's in the
Yeah.
playoff.
Yep.
With Kevin Harvick being involved, I don't think this is over with because I think if Kevin Harvick misses the playoffs, one of these two are going to get it from the 4.
Yeah, I think so too. And with
Because if you're going to pay a guy back, make sure nobody else is involved with it. That's
yeah,
the first
yeah.
thing.
And
But
that's the thing.
hindsight, Chastain spun Denny in front of a pack of cars. So
Yeah. Well, and the thing is that to me, if I was in Harvick's shoes, I would look at what Hamlin did and I'd be like, that's not on Hamlin. That's
no,
on the one car. Because here's the deal.
Chastain should have kept the car up against the wall.
Well, not only that, but Chastain had a choice, right? Hamlin put him in a spot where he had to choose A or B, right? Like there was no third option, which is what Ross tried to go for. Hamlin moves up the track. Chastain could have lifted, right? Hamlin had position on him. He had a nose ahead of him, right? Now, that does not mean that he just gets the line and gets to just, smash into Chastain. But Chastain could have lifted. The wall's coming. He has a choice, right? Like, he doesn't have to keep his foot in it and try to power around. And as a driver, you should know who is next to you, right? If I'm Ross Chastain and I'm running at Pocono and I'm outside of the 11 car who I know is not happy with me, I'm not going to expect that driver to give me room. I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, here comes the wall. oh, the 11 car, he'll give me room, right? You know what I mean? Like you got to know that. So I understand when you're racing, kind of tunnel vision and not thinking about that stuff. But even as a spotter, I'd be like, hey man, that's the 11 down below. He ain't gonna be giving you no room. You know what I mean? Like you got to have something there to be like, look, let's not end it here. And Chastain, in my opinion, it could have been avoided. And
Very much
Denny,
so.
yeah, Denny put him in that position. And hats off to Denny. I give him
Eh,
props for that.
And and I don't think it was a dirty move by Denny at
No,
all.
absolutely
At
not.
all.
No.
And then let's face it, we've seen Ross run through more than one person this year.
Oh yeah.
He's steamrolled through a bunch of guys. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's got a target on his back from damn near everybody. And then after the race, Kevin Harvick's spotter or crew chief tweeted something out and then deleted it.
Yeah.
So not only did you make an enemy out of the 11, but after that crash, you also made an enemy out of the 4. And we've seen Kevin Harvick be fiery before, and he's kind of mellowed out. And I think he misses the playoffs. If he does, and he very well could, I think it's going to be game over for the 1 and or the 11.
Yeah, I do too.
Because
I
let's
think
face it,
it's
he
gonna be
he
hell to
he
pay.
probably could have even won the race straight up at Pocono because he was really fast. Once again, he started in the back, but fought his way all the way up through the top 5 and was running up front or towards the front majority of that race.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, it was definitely a
That's
tough
why I don't
break.
think it's over. That and
No.
I think, and Denny pretty much said it in his interview. The 1 still has some things owed to him,
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's like
and
what did you
and
expect?
and then in Ross's mind, you got him thinking it's over with.
Yep.
Sorry, buddy, I don't think it's over with.
No, it's not. Not at all. So
It's not only do you still got one coming from the 11, but you got one coming from the 19.
yes. Yep. You got one coming from a lot of people. There are a lot of people. There are a lot of people who've who've got a tally next to the 1 car when it comes to payback. So,
And we've seen Kevin and Ross have issues before in the Xfinity series when Ross wrecked
mm-hmm.
Kevin.
Yep. Yep. So, yeah, that'll definitely be something to keep an eye on. They've got Indy coming up this week. I honestly I don't know how that's going to play out. All I do know is we had a repeat winner this week. And that just gives us a couple more weeks before that last race at Daytona, and it's gonna be tight. So definitely worth keeping an eye on because, like you said, they've got a few people have got Ross Chastain on the payback list. So, all right, next one. NASCAR's penalty towards Joe Gibbs Racing is a good thing and sets a positive precedent moving forward. Does this hit or miss the mark? And we're talking about the penalty towards Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch. Both drivers were penalized for their modification for the tape that was underneath their wrap. And this made Chase Elliott the winner of the race at Pocono. So does this hit or miss the mark, Keith?
Ooh, I could go both ways with this, but I'm going to say it misses the mark. And the reason why I think it misses the mark is RFK was penalized 100 points from driver and owner, $100,000 for body modifications. Then this happens with 11 and 18. And then they got it right with taking the win away. I agree with that and disqualifying both guys. I agree with that. But if you're going to penalize one team for body modifications, you got to do it to the other two.
Yes.
Because, yeah, it might have been just tape, but they were sealing off creases in the nose. Therefore, it gave them an advantage. I
Yep.
mean, let's face it, the 18 was up a lot, led a bunch of laps. The 11, up and down day, but at the end, the 11 was up front. So, therefore, yeah, it was just tape. I get that. It was just tape. They disqualified the win in the second place. I get that. But if you're going to do it to one, you got to do it to the both of them.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. The what what they're constituting as body modification, stuff like that. I don't know if there's some kind of way that they're determining it differently. I don't know. What I do know is, for me, it hits the mark on the fact of the penalty, right? Of the idea that, hey, NASCAR said, look, if you modify these parts, and when we talk about the parts, we're talking about anything that is from a vendor, right? Where they have to get it from a vendor. I'm talking the body parts, right? The transaxle, all this stuff like that. They cannot modify, alter, or change those components. Does not matter what it is. They can't add to it, subtract from it, none of that stuff, right? And they had tape. It was basically a 5-inch long, 2.5-inch wide piece of tape that was it was like 1/100th of an inch thick. Like, it was very, very thin, but they had it on the front corners of the nose of the car, on the right and left front corners, basically covering up these rough edges, and it just kind of smoothed it out a little bit. That little tiny bit, right? Most people be like, dude, you're talking about a 5-inch piece of Scotch tape under a wrap. Like, what does that do? Well, when you're talking about these cars, which are so evenly matched right now, and you think about something like downforce or drag at a track like Pocono, where speed is so important, because you basically have what, drag strips in between 3 different corners. That little bit can make a difference. And for me, NASCAR said it, and they stood by it, and they penalized them. They took the win away. They did it quickly. As soon as they discovered it, they did it.
The
And
quickest I've ever seen a penalty come
yeah,
out.
and it's the first time since like 1960 a win was taken away in that manner. So for me, I like that, because that is going to basically tell
And
everybody in the garage, don't do this shit.
I agree with that. I
Yes.
agree with taking the win away. My argument to that is to
Yes.
to
You
to
got to
my
keep it
reason
consistent.
is you got to keep it consistent, because let's face it, when the six did what they did, they were trying to fix the parts because there was a part shortage on those components that they were trying to fix to get the car ready for the next race.
Yes.
Hindsight, this they were modifying it to give
Mhm.
themselves a competitive advantage, and it worked out. It
Yeah.
worked out pretty good. I mean, he finished 1 2. That's where I think it needs to. If you're gonna do it to one, do it to all of them.
Yep.
You did it to the 34,
Yeah. Yep.
but
So,
probably
I'm
why I don't
with
work
you.
for NASCAR.
Keep it more consistent, but yes, I do like the fact that they did that, and hopefully that will detour teams from
But
doing
you,
it, because the
but
days of, hey, we caught this, don't bring this back, that's gone. Those days
oh,
are gone.
and we've seen it with the rules too. We
Mhm.
had 2 tires come off on pit road. One didn't get a penalty.
Yep.
One got a penalty. So it's very inconsistent when it comes to all that stuff. I
Yes,
think
it
if
is.
you're gonna do it for one, do it for all.
Yep, I'm with you on that.
Because let's face it, if they give them a 100-point penalty, both of them, they're out of the playoffs.
Yeah.
Completely out.
Yeah. Yep. So, yeah, keep it more consistent. All right, next one. Kyle Busch's ridiculous actions towards his car owner, Joe Gibbs, seals his fate, and he will not be back in the 18 car next year. Keith, does this hit or miss the mark?
It hits the mark. It hits it.
I'm with
Um,
you.
I feel like if I'm a car owner, and let's face it, Joe Gibbs did Kyle Busch a favor.
Oh my God.
Did him a big favor because he was kicked to the curb from Hendrick.
Mm-hmm.
He did you a solid. And in return, you made yourself one hell of a career. And you're going to disrespect the man that hand fed you that ride
Yes.
for the last decade. Come
Yep.
on now. Be a little more. I get I get about being pissed off over finishing second. I mean, you're always pissed off after finishing second. That when it comes to Kyle, but there's there man, there's a fine line. Don't disrespect your car owner like that. I get that everything that's going on right now between him and Gibbs and Toyota and probably not getting a contract done. And a lot of it's got to do with Kyle, dude. You, you had a contract.
Mm-hmm.
They had a sponsor, and then the sponsor backed out. Nobody knows what the sponsor was, but I heard that it's got to do with the way Kyle Busch acts.
I believe that. I believe that. And, you know, when you are, and look, folks, make no mistake about it. When Kyle Busch is done, whenever that is, he will go down as one of the greats, right? Like he really will. When you talk
If
about
not the
guys,
greatest.
yeah, when you talk about guys who can literally hop into anything and be good, he's up there in that list. No, he does not have the open wheel dirt stuff, right? Like it's not like he's out there running sprint
Hey,
cars
but
or
he's
midgets and
trying.
stuff.
He's
Dude,
trying.
yes, but he's getting into it, right? And give him time and he'll be good. But there was a, I mean, what was it? And look, it just ended. And the only reason it really just ended is because he's not really doing it anymore. But up until just like a year or two ago, there was a 10-year period where if Kyle Busch showed up for a truck race, Busch race, Cup race, whatever, it was like he's the man to beat. Like it's him and who's finishing second. So he has had a phenomenal career.
Absolutely.
And yes, Joe Gibbs definitely helped him out hiring him after Hendrick kicked him to the curb. And yes, Gibbs has benefited from that mightily. That has been a mutually beneficial relationship.
And
But you cannot treat your car, you cannot act like that with your car owner,
no.
especially in that situation. And not only that, you can't let contract negotiations and stuff. You have to have more self awareness than that. And from everything that I've heard, is that Kyle Busch wants a contract basically on par, if not more than what he's doing now. And there's a lot of uncertainty about the future. NASCAR has no idea. These teams have no idea what the money's going to be like moving forward. Right? We've talked about this before with teams expanding. Like Denny Hamlin made mention of this, where it's like we don't know what the pie is going to look like going forward, right? We don't know what the TV deals is going to be, which is a huge factor in what the teams are going to be making, right? Right now, these teams have to get dozens of sponsors to make it through a season, right? Like, remember, it used to be you had the Lowe's car, the Home Depot car, the Bud car, right? You don't have that no more. These guys drive 10 different paint schemes a season because they have to have all these different sponsors just to fit the bill. So, with that kind of uncertainty, no matter how good Kyle Busch is, it is very, very difficult to sign him to the number that he is looking for when you don't have a sponsor. That's huge, right?
And
Huge. So yeah, it hits
and
the mark. I don't think he'll
and
be
how
back next season.
yeah, and I don't think so either. And how you said Joe Gibbs benefited from Kyle Busch and Kyle Busch benefited from Joe Gibbs.
Yes.
Not only has Joe Gibbs benefited from it, Toyota. Toyota has
Oh,
benefited a
absolutely.
lot because let's face it, if it ain't for Kyle Busch and that truck team, Toyota don't have no racing development guys in the truck series right now.
Yep.
And I think that's going to be a big factor moving forward for his next contract because as well as I know, Chevy's looking at that like, damn, we can get a whole truck team.
Yeah.
Ford's looking at it, and Ford's trying to expand their R&D because they really don't have no driver development in the lower series. I mean, yeah, they got a couple Ford teams trickled through the Xfinity series and trickled through the truck series, but if you can get Kyle Busch to come over and bring a four truck team, I think a
That's
manufacturer is going to play
huge.
big into this
Yeah.
decision. And I think whatever manufacturer it is will be throwing a ton of money to Kyle Busch for this.
Yeah. I think that is definitely a possibility.
And
I've
there's
heard,
only
well, what were you going to say?
and then there's only two car owners that can afford Kyle Busch. Penske, and he ain't going to Penske,
No.
and Stuart Haas.
Yep.
Why? Because Stuart Haas Gene Haas owns Haas CNC
Yes.
Machines.
Yep. And
He is
that's
a
what I was gonna
billionaire.
say. Haas is the one team where essentially they could bring him on and basically Haas could be the primary sponsor
Yep.
for the team.
In
Right.
in the rumors that I've been hearing and have been seeing and in and out of the industry from different people within the industry, Kyle Busch will be driving for Stuart Haas next year. You call
If I had to bet on it, that would be my bet. That
I'm
would be my
calling it
bet.
now. This is me calling it. So if it don't happen, it don't happen, and it made me look dumb. But
Yeah.
this is what I see happening. Cole Custer is going to go to the 10. He will be the 10 guy since Eric Almirola is retiring. Now, if Eric decides to stay, Eric will stay in the 10, of course. But Kyle Busch will be driving that 41 car. Why? Because Gene Haas will foot the bill for that. We've seen him do it for Kurt Busch.
Yep.
And I think he's going to do it for Kyle just because Ford is going to be big players into this.
Yeah, I think so. I think so, definitely.
And let's face it, Kyle Busch can help Ford get better. Kyle Busch can help Stuart Haas get better.
Yes.
It's gonna depend on if Kevin Harvick and Kyle Busch can work together. In the
Mm-hmm.
past, they cannot.
Yep. Yep, absolutely. So yeah, I think Kyle Busch's days at Joe Gibbs Racing are numbered. I really do. Um, I thought when I had heard when I had heard kind of the rumor about them losing the sponsor, I thought then that he was done. Um, because at the end of the day, make no mistake, right? Joe Gibbs Racing, it's a business and they cannot just operate in the red. I don't care how good Kyle Busch is, if you don't have sponsors to pick up part of that bill,
No,
you're not making money. No matter
nope.
how many races you win, it costs too much money in the world of NASCAR. So when I had heard that, I was already thinking, yeah, I don't think he's gonna be back with Gibbs. And
And
now
it,
after seeing what I saw this last weekend, I was like, I definitely don't think he's gonna be back.
and you know, there's only one person helping themselves in this whole thing, and it's Ty Gibbs going out and looking good in the 45. He's
Yes.
putting a show on for his grandpa. Like, hey, I'm ready for the Cup Series.
Yep.
You don't need to keep me down here for another year. So, Ty, if you listen to this, which I highly doubt, get another top 10, top 15 finish at Indy, prove it to Grandpa Gibbs, and I bet he will be in the 18 next year. Because, I mean, let's just face it, he finished ahead of Kyle Busch now, and he looked really good in the 45.
Yep. Yep. He did. He looked really good. I was actually very impressed with both him and Noah Gragson this last
So,
weekend. I mean,
I
the
mean,
Xfinity race between them was phenomenal.
amazing.
It was awesome. And what those guys did in the Cup was really, really impressive.
So,
Especially Gibbs when you consider the fact that he didn't find out about it
he
until,
was almost home.
yeah, at like 11 o'clock Saturday night. He found out like, oh, hey, I'm going to be running running the Cup car tomorrow.
So, let me ask you this. Do you think they called Ty and said, hey, you want an audition? Do you think this is an audition for Ty Gibbs to prove that he can run in Cup? Because
Um,
there was Toyota drivers still at Pocono that they could have used.
I think it was part that. I think what happened is I think it wasn't so much an audition as much as I think it's kind of a perfect storm. Hey, he just had this phenomenal race at Pocono in the Xfinity car, right? I mean, no, he didn't win, but he finished second. It was a phenomenal job. And now you've got this opening, right, at basically, an affiliate team of Joe Gibbs Racing. And it's like, hey, let's see if he's ready, right? Let's not so much an audition, but hey, let's see where he's at. Let's see if he's ready for Cup next year. Let's see what he's got. And he, in my opinion, did an awesome job considering the circumstances. He did incredible. And he showed that he is ready for Cup. Now, that does not mean that if he does get into a Cup car next year, that he is not going to have some bumps in the road. He is. I don't care who you are. Everybody does, right? Nobody just comes up and dominates. No matter how good of a rookie year you have, you still have those bumps in the road. But I think overall he's ready for the cup. And with the cars being as different as they are now, right, from the Xfinity to the Cup Series, there used to be some similarities, right? Like if you look at where the Xfinity cars are now and where the car that we had in Cup last year, right, the Gen 6 car. If you look at those two cars, there was similarities, right? The Gen 6 car obviously had way more downforce to it. Um, but when you consider that when we start looking at the suspension components and things like that, right, where you're talking about the spring packages, the shock, being on shock springs, they're bolt, they're not coil over, they're shock and damper, they're straight axle, right? They're basically running a four, which is essentially a Ford 9-inch, right, rear end. I mean, when you consider those factors, there was a lot more similarities to where now you look at those cars and they're so different, right? With the independent suspension, the downforce differences, the diffuser, right? The gearbox, everything, the amount of shifting that they're doing in a cup car compared to the Xfinity, there's just so many differences. So for him to show that, hey man, I can do this and hang, I'm one of those people. It's like, get him in it sooner. The sooner the better.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think they wanted to see where he was at, give him, judge him and, do it in good equipment, which, obviously that car is good. It's a good car. We've seen that car win this year, and he did a good job. Considering the circumstances, he did a good job. So I think personally, I would I I would not be shocked if Ty Gibbs is in the 18 car next year and Kyle Busch is at Stewart Haas. I would, if I could actually place a bet on that, I would. I
Oh,
would wager
100%.
money on that.
Because as I mentioned, Kyle and Kevin has had their differences. We've seen them go at it a ton.
They have. That is true.
But over the past 2 or 3 years, they've actually been closer than what they have been. I mean, you've seen them talking before and after the races and hanging out.
Yeah.
So I'm almost wondering if Kevin's going to be like, yeah, that's fine. I'm going to be retiring next year anyway.
Yeah. Well, not only that,
But
but if Kyle Busch can bring something to the table that can help Kevin Harvick, at the end of the
yep,
day, Kevin
and
Harvick's going to be all for that.
and like I've said before, if Kyle does truly end up at Stewart Haas, it's just going to push Kevin to be better and to be faster. And how he may force Kevin's hand to not retire next year.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. That is true. So yeah, it's going to be interesting, man. The news whenever it finally comes out or breaks on what Kyle Busch is going to do next year, I'm really looking forward to seeing that because
Yeah, me too. Because I don't think he's going to be out of the sport.
no, he's not going to be out of the sport.
There's
No,
no way.
he still has a lot of time left. Um, if you look at kind of when like drivers are their peak, right? For NASCAR drivers, if you look at like their peak performance, it's usually like early 30s to, early 40s, right? You're talking 31, 32 years old to like 40, 41, 42. And Kyle is what, 37,
Yeah.
something like that. So, I mean, he's still got, oh my God, I would say at least 3 more years, if not 4 or 5 of elite performance left in the tank. I mean, he really does. So, yeah, he's not leaving. He does not strike me as somebody who's ready to leave. He's a race car driver. That's what the guy does.
Yep.
So yeah, he'll be back somewhere next year. All right. So, before we wrap things up this week, we got one more thing that we got to do here, and that is going to be our goat of the week. So, our goat of the week is where we basically pick who we think our, it's kind of a greatest of all time for the week. Who did the best? It could be a driver, whatever. So, Keith, this week, who was your goat of the week?
Oh, man. I'm going to go with Justin Grant. He won at Kokomo for an Indiana Sprint Week, and he tied John Stamborough and Dave Darland for the most wins ever at Kokomo with almost 50. It's crazy.
That's
Yeah,
insane.
he's got to be my pick for goat of the week because that's impressive.
That is very impressive. Yeah. Yeah. He's always, I mean, whenever you're talking basically anything USAC, if he's running, you got to look at him as one of the guys to beat. So, but yeah, good call on that one. I like that one. Um, my goat of the week is a little bit of a homer pick, but I'm okay with it. I'm gonna go with Brad Sweet just because we talked about it earlier. His season, I mean, for he's leading the points, but he's had a rough season by his standards. And to get the win at Williams Grove, his first win at that track, and to do it the way that he did it, right? It's not like it was a fluke or something. Like he flat drove by, shots and Hodenshield to get the win. You know what I mean? And did it. It just ran an awesome race. Had a phenomenal weekend overall. Finished fourth on Friday night, got the win Saturday night. So yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with the big cat for my goat of the week.
I like it.
Yeah. So, anyways, you guys, that is going to do it all for this week's show. Now, really quick, if you have not had a chance, make sure you head over, check out the 3 Wide in the Middle YouTube channel. There's only one video up right now. I will be putting up more. Actually, I'll be putting up another one today. I'll be getting more and more of those up as this goes along. We'll be posting clips and stuff like that there. So make sure you check that out. Also, please make sure you download, subscribe, follow to the show, whatever platform it is you use, Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, I don't care, iHeartRadio, surprise us. We don't care. Just download and subscribe and share it, get it out there, and help us keep this thing rolling. And yeah, if you guys do that, me and Keith, we will be back here next week to do it all over again. So, Keith, my man, have a good weekend.
Absolutely. You too. Have fun up there in the cabin.
I will. I'll be thinking about all of you guys as I'm disconnected from the grid. So, yeah, everybody out there, have a fun and safe weekend. And until next week, take care.